This episode of Arcade Spotlight has been brought to you in part by Game on Expo. Use code Starfighters to get 10% off any pass you purchase to this year's event from now until April 2025. Hello and welcome to Arcade Spotlight. We're glad you could join us from the vast reaches of space to follow us on this epic journey through arcade history. In today's episode, we're looking at a platforming type game that everybody could get behind, not because of its innovative gameplay or story if it had any, but for the sole fact that it made many of us hungry for more.
All these years later, 45 years later, it's still a formidable game to play.
BurgerTime was released in November of 1982 by Bally Midway. It was developed by Data East as a platformer. It was made for 1 to 2 players, and it comes in an upright and cocktail cabinet.
First time seeing it was, as usual, in one of the arcades. You know, you'd look at it and be, okay, it's something different, I gotta try this out once. It was not the easiest game to play at first, I will admit. It was, yes, it's very simple with the peppers and stuff, you know, with the pepper and trying to hold the guy. But it was the, okay, let me figure this out, is there a pattern of any kind? And then the game would start to get a little bit easier.
I remember seeing it in the candy store that used to be by my house. When it first came in, it was, oh wow, everybody had to get to it to play it. And then it became, you know, like Pac-Man and any other machine that was there. After a while, we got sick of playing it, but it was a fun machine.
It's a game I played a lot as a kid. I remember when it showed up at the arcade in the mall. I didn't get to play it there very much. It showed up around 1982 in the arcades. It was one of the most popular games to use the experimental Deco tape drive system.
For those that don't know, the Deco system was a cassette-based arcade system made by Data East that allowed arcade owners to swap games out by replacing tapes in the machines, and the game data would load into the cabinet's RAM chips. Many of Data East's arcade machines of the time had Deco system variants, BurgerTime being one of them.
Steve had acquired one here locally. Exact same game. Cabinet, of course, is completely different. I was dutifully impressed by the little micro cassette running that whole thing. But pretty cool.
You play as Chef Peter Pepper, and you run around the maze trying to avoid the enemy foods while you're making hamburgers with your feet.
You will start out at the bottom. You have to climb your way up. You run across the bun to just begin with to build the bottom of the burger.
When you run over the one at the top, each consecutive one drops down, so it's making the burger.
If you got one of the bad guys, it would drop it down 2 to 3 levels depending on what happens. If you could manage to get all of the characters onto one, it would drop it down even further.
There are pickles and eggs and, well, it's pickles and eggs and hot dogs that are chasing you through the, not really a maze, but through the structure. And you can slow them down with pepper. As you get along in the game, you get only a limited supply of pepper, right? So you can't pepper all the time.
I used to get frustrated by it because I would use all my pepper and then you don't get them replenished unless you get the little dessert that appears.
The pickles are very mean. Very mean. I forgot about Mr. Hot Dog. I'll show you how much I hate the pickle. And the fried egg. My apologies, I forgot. I don't want to not give them credit as well. So, but the pickle's the one I despise.
It's got a very unique cabinet. It is pretty iconic, pretty cool.
I've seen it when it was on the corner of the row, and the graphics are the same exact graphics that I remember as a kid. The only difference is there isn't cigarette burns on this machine like there was back in the 80s.
It's one of the few food games with the exception of Food Fight, so it is definitely a unique one on that front. And the running around making fast food with this was always kind of a fun little thing to play.
I wasn't unaware of all the multiple ports on home systems that followed, so that was something new for me to learn.
All told, BurgerTime was a moderate success, garnering many ports during its initial release, even a console-exclusive sequel that's a bit uncommon to find these days, and it may have started a food craze both in the arcades and consoles. Proper sequels would follow over the decades, as well as spin-offs, clones, and appearances on collections. The game is still getting ported to this day, and springs up in popular culture every now and then.
It was ported to the three major systems of the time, Intellivision, ColecoVision, and Atari. Got to experience it more on the ColecoVision, which kind of taught me wrong because the AI behaves differently than it does on the arcade version. But an experienced player can lead the enemies around where you want them to go.
BurgerTime came out when I was in high school, had a fairly successful run and lasting power. That like Asteroids or like Galaga. Still gets played quite a bit. It's out there, and I think anyone that grew up in that time frame and era will recognize it like almost immediately. A great game, but I'm not aware that it had a huge pop culture impact, other than it was fun.
Again, fun fast food game. You run around, you make the burgers, you get annoyed, the pickles get meaner and meaner as the levels go on. Yeah, Peter Pepper's not a bad character.
Just another fun arcade classic. It's definitely worth your time to play.
BurgerTime is a game from my childhood, and it led the way to other games as well, influenced people of my generation to make home games that came out in the 2000s, late 90s and early 2000s, because we grew up playing these and it challenged us. And then we designed games that challenge, I think, people today. The generation that's making games now are just knocking it out of the park. It's worth it for the nostalgia value of it alone. And just to see how games seem simple, but they're very, very deceiving when it seems simple. It's far from simple. But it is a fun game, though. It is truly an enjoyable game.
BurgerTime left its own mark and not just the shoe prints on the many burgers. It's got a unique legacy all its own and reminded us food can be just as fun to play with than games. Definitely one you should play no matter where you see it, for it provides a great challenge, and it also may help determine what you want to get to eat. This has been Arcade Spotlight. I'm Jacob Ross, and we'll see you soon. Want to play the games featured on the show? Come check us out. We're located at 4840 East Jasmine Street, number 102, Mesa, Arizona, 85205, near Falcon Field and the Monastery. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to support the channel by giving us a like, comment, sharing the video around, and hitting that subscribe button. It really helps us out. You can also ring the bell to stay notified and find us all throughout cyberspace. Once again, thanks for watching, and we'll be seeing ya.
Then it was a payment. See if they go money stealing. Well, they were.
Oh, sorry, camera.
Alright, Jody, what did you say Peter Pepper looked like?
He looks like he's saying, I stomped all over this shit. You better eat it.
Bonus question. How do you like your burger?
How do I like my burger?
I like my burger well done, and preferably without anybody walking on it.
I like my burger medium rare with extra American cheese, mayonnaise, raw onion, and tomato.
You know, I'm gonna flip that. No pun intended.
We have to go with at least the mustard and ketchup for sure. Sometimes salsa. If we go with mustard and ketchup, we'll have to go with tomato and onion as well. That was close.
What would you think it would be?
I said rare.
All right, medium rare. I'm Irish. Remember, Irish eat everything well done. So medium rare for an Irish person is rare for everybody else.
I'll say my two favorite burgers, right, are In-N-Out and Five Guys. Not that the other burgers aren't bad, they're good, but those two are at the top of my list. fighting for first and second place in an eternal battle of burger goodness.
How do you like your burger?
Not prepared by feet.